Alien Emperor died laughing at human Janitor, until he saw him calling the dragons with a mop. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The gleaming halls of the Galactic Sovereign's flagship station, the Imperial Nexus, were a stark contrast to the simple life Tyler Grant had known back on Earth. Clutching his regulation issue mop, he navigated the maze of corridors that had become his domain over the past 3 years, wondering how he had ended up as the only human janitor in the most prestigious space station in the known universe. Emperor Zordak of the Teslarian Empire reclined on his hovering throne, surrounded by his most trusted advisors and courtiers. His 7-foot frame dwarfed even the tallest of his species, and the bioluminescent patterns that pulsed across his azure skin signaled his current mood of mild amusement. The Emperor's visit to the Imperial Nexus was a rare occurrence, one that had the entire station on high alert. And so the Proxima ambassador said, "That's not my tentacle, that's my wife." Zordak bellowed, his laughter echoing through the grand chamber. The gathered Teslarians joined in obligatory laughter, their eyes darting nervously at one another. Tyler pushed his cleaning cart past the open doors of the grand chamber, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. He had learned early on that invisibility was the key to survival when serving alien masters who viewed humans as little more than clever pets. "Wait," Emperor Zordak's voice cut through the laughter. "What is that creature doing here?" He pointed a clawed finger at Tyler. The station overseer, a Teslarian named Velex, hurried forward. "My Emperor, that is merely one of our maintenance personnel. A human." "A human?" Zordak's multifaceted eyes widened with interest. "I've heard tales of these beings. Bring it closer." Tyler froze as 2 guards approached him. With gentle but firm grips, they guided him toward the Emperor. Tyler kept his eyes downcast, remembering the protocol for addressing Teslarian nobility. "Look at me, human," Zordak commanded. Tyler raised his eyes, taking in the full spectacle of the Emperor. Up close, Zordak was even more imposing. His crown of crystalline spires seemed to capture and reflect the very stars themselves. "What is your designation?" the Emperor asked. "Tyler Grant, Your Imperial Majesty." "Sanitation Technician, Level 3, Tyler replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "Sanitation." Zordak tilted his massive head. "You clean waste." "I maintain environmental hygiene throughout the residential and administrative sectors, Your Majesty." A ripple of amusement passed through the court. Zordak's mouth, a series of overlapping mandibles, clicked in what Tyler had come to recognize as Teslarian laughter. "And what is that primitive implement you wield?" Zordak gestured to the mop in Tyler's hand. "This is a mop, Your Majesty, for cleaning floors." The Emperor's laughter grew louder. "A stick with strands? Why not use molecular purification beams like civilized beings?" Tyler had been asked this question before. Human touch ensures thorough cleaning in ways automation sometimes misses, Your Majesty. And it's cost-effective. Cost-effective. Zordak roared with laughter. "The human thinks in terms of economy, as if such concerns matter in the grandeur of my empire." The court erupted in synchronized laughter, following their emperor's lead. "Tell me, human," Zordak continued, wiping a tear-like secretion from one of his eyes, "what other primitive skills do you possess?" Tyler hesitated. There were things about humans that the galactic community didn't know. Things that had been carefully kept secret since Earth's reluctant induction into the Galactic Concordat 50 years ago. "I can whistle, Your Majesty," Tyler offered, selecting one of humanity's more innocuous talents. "Whistle. Demonstrate," Zordak commanded, leaning forward with curiosity. Tyler pursed his lips and produced a simple melody, one his grandfather had taught him long ago. The Teslarians stared in shock, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in rapid sequences that indicated confusion and mild alarm. "You produce music without technology or biological sound organs?" Zordak asked, his amusement temporarily replaced by genuine interest. "Yes, Your Majesty. Most humans can." The Emperor settled back, his interest waning. "Quaint, but hardly impressive. I have musicians who can manipulate the very fabric of reality with their harmonics. He waved a dismissive hand. You may return to your mopping, human. Tyler bowed and backed away, relieved to have survived the encounter without incident. One more thing, Zordak called out as Tyler reached his cart. They say humans have unusual attachments to lesser species. Is this true? Tyler thought of Earth's dogs, cats, and countless other animals that humans had domesticated and cherished over millennia. We form bonds with many creatures, yes. Even reptilian ones. Those you call dragons. Tyler stiffened. The mention of dragons wasn't something he had expected. Dragons were more than mythological creatures to humans now. After the great revelation of 2157, when the dormant dragon eggs buried deep within Earth's crust had begun to hatch due to increased geothermal activity, humanity had discovered that many of their ancient legends had been based on truth. Dragons are part of our mythology, Your Majesty, Tyler said carefully. Mythology. Zordak's laughter returned, even more boisterous than before. The human speaks of the Viridian Fire Lords as mythology. He turned to his court. Do you hear this? The most feared predators in the galaxy, the beasts that decimated 3 civilizations during the Burning Times, and this primitive creature calls them mythology. The court laughed nervously, many exchanging concerned glances at the mention of the Viridian Fire Lords. Perhaps, a courtier suggested, the human doesn't know what true dragons are. Enlighten him, Zordak commanded, still chuckling. The courtier activated a holographic display. Above them materialized the image of what humans would indeed recognize as a dragon, massive, scaled, with powerful wings and a serpentine body. But this creature had an otherworldly quality, with crystalline growths protruding from its spine and a gaze that seemed to hold ancient intelligence. The Viridian Fire Lords, the courtier explained, are the oldest known sentient species in our galaxy. They once ruled over thousands of worlds before retreating into self-imposed exile 5 millennia ago. Their power is unmatched, their wisdom unfathomable, and their wrath, he shuddered visibly, is legendary. Tyler stared at the image, recognition dawning on his face. The dragons of Earth and these Viridian Fire Lords were unmistakably the same species. Your reaction suggests familiarity, human, Zordak observed, his laughter subsiding. Has your species encountered these beings? Tyler thought quickly. The Galactic Concordat had strict rules about sharing technological or biological advantages. Humanity's connection to the dragons was their most closely guarded secret, one that had kept Earth safe from potential conquest despite their relative technological inferiority. As I said, Your Majesty, dragons appear in our mythology. This image resembles our legendary creatures. Zordak stared at Tyler for a long moment, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing slowly. Interesting coincidence. He turned to Velex. Where did you acquire this human? Standard labor contract through the Concordat Exchange, Emperor. This one has been here 3 standard cycles, with an excellent service record. And does it clean everywhere on the station? The human division handles residential and administrative sectors. Military and research sectors are maintained by automated systems for security reasons. Zordak nodded thoughtfully. I wish to see the human perform its duties. It amuses me. Velex looked surprised, but bowed deeply. As you wish, Emperor. Shall I arrange a demonstration in your guest quarters? No. Zordak rose from his hovering throne, towering over everyone present. I wish to observe it in its natural environment. Take me to where the most critical cleaning is needed. The court murmured in surprise. Emperor Zordak was known for many things, but interest in the mundane workings of a space station was not one of them. The diplomatic reception hall requires preparation for tomorrow's Concordat delegation, Velex suggested. Perhaps the human could demonstrate there? Excellent, Zordak agreed. Lead the way, human. Show me this mopping technique that surpasses our technology. Tyler swallowed hard and nodded, guiding his cart ahead of the Emperor and his entourage. As they moved through the corridors, station personnel flattened themselves against walls in deference to the imperial procession. Tyler's mind raced. Why was the Emperor so interested in a human janitor? The mention of dragons couldn't be coincidental. The diplomatic reception hall was a vast space with a transparent ceiling offering a breathtaking view of the surrounding nebula. Its polished floors were made of a material that resembled marble, but was actually a specialized compound that changed color based on the atmospheric preferences of different species. This floor requires special treatment to maintain its adaptive properties, Tyler explained, falling into the familiar rhythm of his work routine. The molecular structure can be disrupted by certain cleaning agents, so we use a traditional approach. He prepared his mop with a solution specially formulated for the floor material. As he began to clean, he was acutely aware of the Emperor and his entire court watching his every move. Fascinating, Zordak said, though his tone suggested the opposite. Such primitive labor. On Teslarian worlds, even the lowest citizens have personal drone assistants. Tyler continued working methodically. Humans find value in manual labor, Your Majesty. There's a satisfaction in seeing immediate results from your efforts. A philosophical janitor, Zordak remarked, triggering another round of courtier laughter. Tell me, Tyler Grant, are you representative of your species? Tyler considered the question. In some ways, perhaps. In others, not at all. Humans are diverse. And all equally primitive? Tyler bristled at the insult, but kept his expression neutral. We're younger than many species in the Concordat, but we learn quickly. Indeed, Zordak's eyes narrowed. Too quickly, some say. Your species advanced from combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 3 centuries. Such rapid development is concerning. Necessity drives innovation, Your Majesty. And what necessity drives a human to clean floors on a distant space station? The question struck uncomfortably close to Tyler's true purpose on the Imperial Nexus. Economic opportunity, Your Majesty, and curiosity about the wider galaxy. Zordak's attention suddenly shifted to Tyler's mop. That solution you're using, it has an unusual scent. Tyler tensed. The cleaning solution was standard issue, but he had added a personal touch. A few drops of essential oil distilled from a plant that grew near dragon nesting grounds on Earth. The scent was imperceptible to most aliens, but had properties that humans had discovered were useful when communicating with dragons. Just a human preference for pleasant aromas while working, Your Majesty. It's derived from an Earth plant. Zordak moved closer, his sensory appendages twitching. It reminds me of something. He inhaled deeply. Something ancient. The Emperor's chief scientist, a Teslarian with elaborate cybernetic enhancements, stepped forward. Perhaps we should analyze this substance, Emperor. Biological compounds from primitive worlds sometimes have unexpected properties. Yes, Zordak agreed. Take a sample. The scientist produced a collection device and approached Tyler, who reluctantly surrendered his mop for sampling. Your solution appears to contain trace elements not listed in its standard formulation, the scientist announced after a quick analysis. Organic compounds with unusual molecular structures. Just natural fragrances, Tyler explained. They have no effect on the cleaning properties. Then you won't mind if we confiscate this for further study, the scientist said, not really asking a question. Before Tyler could respond, a low rumble shook the station. The lights flickered momentarily, and several Teslarians looked around in alarm. Engineering malfunction? Zordak asked Felix. Unlikely, Emperor. This station has redundant systems for all critical functions. Felix activated his communication implant. Security, report status. The response came through clearly enough for everyone to hear. Unidentified energy signature detected in Sector 7. Scanners indicate. This can't be right. Speak clearly, Felix commanded. Sir, scanners indicate a Viridian biosignature. The room fell silent. Even Emperor Zordak seemed momentarily at a loss for words. Impossible, the chief scientist declared. The Viridians haven't been seen in this quadrant for millennia. Tyler knew better. The dragons of Earth, the Viridian Fire Lords, had begun to awaken and return to the stars. And they recognized humans as the custodians of their hatchlings during their long dormancy. The relationship between humans and dragons was symbiotic and sacred, and completely unknown to the galactic community. Another tremor shook the station, stronger this time. Full alert, Velex ordered. Deploy security teams to Sector 7 and initiate containment protocols. Zordak turned to Tyler, his bioluminescent patterns now pulsing in patterns that indicated suspicion and anger. An unusual coincidence, human. We discuss Viridian Fire Lords, and suddenly one appears? After millennia of absence. Perhaps they were never truly gone, Your Majesty, Tyler suggested, fighting to keep his voice steady. Just waiting for the right moment to return. Zordak's eyes narrowed to slits. Seize the human. I want it thoroughly examined. Guards moved toward Tyler, but the station shook again, more violently this time. Emergency lights activated, bathing the reception hall in a pulsing red glow. Emperor, Velex's voice was urgent. We should move you to a secure location immediately. Not without the human, Zordak insisted. There's more to this janitor than appears. As the guards reached for Tyler, the transparent ceiling above them darkened. Everyone looked up to see a massive shape moving against the backdrop of the nebula. A serpentine form with wings spread wide enough to cast a shadow over the entire hall. Viridian Fire Lord, someone whispered in awe and terror. The creature outside the station was magnificent and terrifying. Its scales shimmered with colors that seemed to shift between deep emerald and sapphire, with crystalline growths along its spine glowing with internal energy. Its eyes, visible even from this distance, burned with ancient intelligence. And it was looking directly at Tyler. What have you done? Zordak demanded, grabbing Tyler's arm. Why is it here? I've done nothing, Emperor, Tyler replied, wincing at the Teslarian's powerful grip. But I suggest you release me immediately. You dare threaten me? Zordak's mandibles clicked in fury. It's not a threat, Tyler said calmly. It's advice. The Fire Lord is here for me, and it won't take kindly to seeing me handled roughly. As if to confirm his words, the dragon outside pressed closer to the transparent ceiling, its massive head now clearly visible to everyone in the hall. A low, resonant sound vibrated through the station, not quite a roar, but a harmonious thrumming that Tyler recognized as dragon speech. The Teslarians covered their auditory organs in pain, but to Tyler, the sound was almost musical. The dragon was calling to him. It speaks to you, Zordak said in disbelief, his grip on Tyler's arm loosening. How is this possible? Tyler took advantage of the Emperor's shock to pull free. There's much about humans you don't know, Your Majesty. We've kept some secrets, just as your empire has. The dragon's thrumming grew louder, and the transparent ceiling material began to resonate in response, creating hairline fractures. The structural integrity is compromising, the chief scientist warned. If that barrier fails, this entire section will decompress. Not if the Fire Lord doesn't wish it to, Tyler said with unexpected authority. He stepped forward, away from the Teslarians, and looked up at the massive creature. Raising his hand in a gesture that combined respect and greeting, Tyler whispered words in an ancient human language that predated recorded history. The dragon's thrumming changed pitch, becoming almost gentle. The fractures in the ceiling stopped spreading. What language is that? Zordak demanded. What are you saying to it? I'm telling it that I'm safe, Tyler replied. For now. The Emperor's bioluminescent patterns flashed in rapid, chaotic sequences, a sign of extreme agitation. You command the Fire Lord? No one commands a Viridian Fire Lord, Emperor, Tyler corrected. But some of us can communicate with them, can request, can suggest. Another tremor shook the station, but this one felt different, more controlled, almost purposeful. Sir, Velex addressed the Emperor. Sensors indicate 3 more Viridian biosignatures approaching the station. Zordak's agitation turned to fear. 4 Fire Lords? We must evacuate immediately. Prepare my personal shuttle. I wouldn't recommend leaving, Tyler said. The dragons might interpret that as an aggressive action. You expect me to remain trapped here with these ancient predators circling my location? Zordak's voice rose in pitch. What do they want? Tyler looked up at the dragon, still watching them through the ceiling. They want to ensure I'm unharmed. And they probably want to understand why the Emperor of the Teslarian Empire is taking such an interest in a human janitor. For the first time in recorded history, Emperor Zordak appeared uncertain. Tell them I mean you no harm. Tell them we merely conversed. Tyler nodded and spoke again in the ancient language. The dragon outside shifted position, moving back slightly from the ceiling but remaining clearly visible. It will allow us to continue our conversation, Tyler informed the Emperor. But it will remain nearby. Zordak's eyes darted between Tyler and the dragon. Who are you really, Tyler Grant? No mere janitor has such connections. Tyler sighed. The situation had escalated beyond the point where maintaining his cover was possible. I am a draconic liaison officer, assigned to the Imperial Nexus to monitor galactic affairs that might impact Earth and its dragon population. A spy, Zordak hissed. An observer, Tyler corrected. Earth has little interest in Imperial politics. Our concern is for the well-being of the dragons who chose our world as their sanctuary during their long exile. And now they return to the stars? Zordak asked, a calculating look replacing his fear. With humans as their allies? As their friends, Tyler said simply. They protected our world from afar for millennia, influencing our myths and legends. When they began to awaken, we helped them. The relationship evolved naturally. The chief scientist stepped forward cautiously. The biological sample from your cleaning solution. It contains pheromones specific to Viridian biochemistry. Tyler nodded. Dragon mint. It grows near their nesting grounds on Earth. The scent is calming to them, helps establish trust. You use it to control them, Zordak suggested. Tyler laughed. No one controls a dragon, Emperor. The scent just lets them know a friend is nearby. He gestured to his mop. Hence, my cleaning implement of choice. A dragon calling device disguised as a primitive tool, Zordak said, understanding dawning in his multifaceted eyes. Ingenious. Outside, the dragon shifted position again, its massive head turning towards something beyond their view. The thrumming sound changed, becoming more urgent. What's happening? Velix asked. Tyler frowned. It's warning about something. He listened more carefully to the dragon's speech. Something approaching. Military vessels. Velix checked his communication feed. Teslarian Imperial warships have entered the system, responding to our presence. Standard protocol. Call them off, Tyler urged Zordak. The dragons will perceive them as a threat. Zordak hesitated, clearly calculating his options. Perhaps this is an opportunity. The firepower of my fleet combined with the element of surprise would be catastrophic, Tyler interrupted. For your fleet, and possibly this station. Don't make that mistake, Emperor. The dragon outside roared, a true roar this time that shook the entire station. The other three dragons came into view, their massive forms eclipsing the nebula backdrop. Emperor, Velix pleaded, we must defuse this situation. The station's defenses cannot withstand even one Fire Lord, let alone four. Tyler stepped closer to Zordak. You laughed at the human janitor with his mop. You thought our species primitive and amusing. But we've been keeping the peace with the most powerful beings in the galaxy while your empire was still figuring out faster-than-light travel. Something changed in Zordak's expression, a flicker of respect, perhaps. Very well. Open a channel to the fleet commander. As Velix established the communication, Tyler turned his attention back to the dragons. They were agitated, responding to the perceived threat. He needed to calm them before the situation escalated further. He retrieved his mop from where the scientist had placed it and held it up toward the ceiling in a gesture that would look bizarre to the Teslarians but held significance to the dragons. The mop, infused with the scent of dragon mint, was more than a cleaning tool. It was a symbol of the bond between humans and dragons, of the care humans had shown for dragon hatchlings during their vulnerable stages. The lead dragon, the one directly above them, lowered its head until it nearly touched the transparent ceiling. Its eyes, each larger than Tyler himself, focused on the mop in his hands. Then, in a gesture that caused gasps among the Teslarians, It gently exhaled a shimmering mist that passed somehow through the sealing material without damaging it. The mist settled on Tyler's mop, causing the fibers to glow with an ethereal blue light. The dragon mint scent intensified, filling the reception hall with an aroma that was simultaneously soothing and invigorating. "What is happening?" Zordak asked, his voice hushed with unprecedented awe. Tyler smiled. "The dragon is acknowledging our bond and enhancing my tool. It's a gesture of trust." "Trust," Zordak repeated, the concept seemingly foreign when applied to the legendary Fire Lords. "Emperor," Velex interrupted, "the fleet commander awaits your orders." Zordak straightened his imposing frame. "Order the fleet to maintain their current position. No aggressive actions. Inform them we are conducting diplomatic negotiations." Tyler nodded appreciatively. "A wise decision, Your Majesty." Zordak turned to Tyler, his bioluminescent patterns now pulsing in slow, measured sequences that indicated deep thought. "It seems I have much to learn about humans, Tyler Grant, and about the true balance of power in our galaxy." The diplomatic reception hall had transformed from a site of imperial mockery to the stage for an unprecedented encounter. Emperor Zordak, whose laughter had echoed through the chamber mere minutes ago, now stood in reverent silence as Tyler Grant communicated with creatures that had been the subject of galactic legends for millennia. "You have been deceiving the Concordat," Zordak finally said, his voice unnaturally quiet. "Humanity claimed no special biological advantages during your species induction." Tyler shrugged, the glowing mop still held in his hands. "We claimed nothing false. The dragons chose when to reveal themselves. We simply respected their wishes." "For 50 years, Zordak's mandibles clicked softly. 50 years your species has been part of galactic society, all while harboring the most powerful beings known to exist." "Harboring suggests there are captives or pets," Tyler corrected. "There are allies, our friends. Some might even say family." The lead dragon outside the station shifted position, bringing one massive eye level with the transparent ceiling. Its pupil contracted as it focused on the gathered Teslarians, then expanded as it turned to Tyler. More dragon speech vibrated through the station, this time with subtle variations that only Tyler seemed to understand. "What is it saying?" Zordak demanded. "She," Tyler emphasized, "is asking why the Emperor of the Teslarians is so far from his homeworld. She remembers your species from before your technological age." Zordak's bioluminescent patterns flashed in surprise. "These creatures have that long a memory. Viridian Firelords can live for thousands of years," Tyler explained. "This one, Seraphina, is relatively young, only 7 centuries old. But their collective memory spans much longer through knowledge passed down generations." "You name them?" The Emperor sounded incredulous. "They name themselves," Tyler replied. "We just use approximations our tongues can manage." The chief scientist, who had been analyzing data on a portable device, interrupted. "Emperor, I've been comparing the Viridian biosignatures to our historical records. These specimens appear to be from different genetic lineages than those documented during the Burning Times." "Different how?" Zordak asked. "More evolved. More harmonious in their energy patterns." Tyler nodded. "The dragons that caused destruction during the Burning Times were driven by pain and fear. They were young, injured, and lost. The Viridians you see now have had centuries of peaceful coexistence with humanity. They've changed, as have we." Zordak considered this information, his calculating mind clearly weighing the implications. "So humanity has been nurturing a generation of Viridian Firelords who feel allegiance to your species." "Not allegiance," Tyler corrected again. "Friendship, mutual respect." The Emperor stepped closer to the transparent ceiling, looking up at the massive dragon. "And if I were to order my fleet to attack this station? To capture you and learn the secrets of controlling these beasts?" Tyler's expression hardened. "Then Seraphina and her kin would ensure there was no fleet left to carry out those orders. And I don't control them. I've been trying to explain that." The dragon outside seemed to sense the tension. She moved her head closer to the ceiling, her scales shifting to a deeper hue that radiated with barely contained energy. Your fleet has 27 warships, Tyler continued calmly. Impressive by galactic standards. But during the Burning Times, a single Viridian Fire Lord destroyed the entire Myclonian armada, 300 warships with technology far superior to your own. Velex, who had been monitoring station communications, spoke up urgently. Emperor, the fleet commander reports energy buildups in the Viridian's crystalline structures. They appear to be preparing defensive measures. Zordak's eyes darted between Tyler and the dragons. For the first time in his long reign, the Emperor found himself in a position of clear disadvantage. What do you want, human? Tyler smiled slightly. I want what I've always wanted since coming to this station, to do my job in peace. Both my janitorial duties and my role as liaison. You expect me to simply ignore this revelation? To pretend I never discovered humanity's secret pact with the most powerful species in the galaxy? No. Tyler set his glowing mop against the wall and straightened his uniform. I expect you to recognize an opportunity when you see one. Zordak's bioluminescent patterns shifted to indicate curiosity. Explain. The Teslarian Empire is powerful, yes, but it faces challenges. The Proximer Confluence has been encroaching on your borders for decades. The synthetic collective threatens your technological superiority. Even within your own dominion, rebellious factions test your control. Zordak's patterns flashed in alarm. How do you know these things? Tyler smiled. I'm a janitor. I'm invisible. People say many things when they think no one important is listening. And what opportunity do you propose? A formal alliance between the Teslarian Empire and Earth. The first official interspecies agreement that acknowledges our connection to the Viridian Fire Lords. Zordak's eyes narrowed. You offer me protection? The Teslarian Empire does not cower behind others. Not protection, Tyler shook his head. Partnership, cultural exchange, trade. The dragons have knowledge that predates most civilizations. Earth has unique biological resources that could benefit your people, and your empire has technological expertise that could help both our worlds. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, his patterns pulsing in the complex rhythms that indicated deep strategic thinking. And if I decline? Tyler glanced up at Serafina, who remained watchful outside the ceiling. Then you return to your homeworld with knowledge that few in the galaxy possess. What you do with that knowledge is your choice, though I would caution against any hostile actions. Is that a threat, Janitor? Zordak's voice carried an edge. A reality check, Emperor, Tyler replied evenly. The dragons protected Earth long before we knew they existed. They will continue to protect us if necessary. The tension in the room was palpable. The court advisors watched their Emperor with anxious eyes, while station personnel remained frozen at their posts, uncertain of what was unfolding before them. Finally, Zordak spoke. I require time to consider such a significant diplomatic shift, and verification of your authority to negotiate on behalf of your planet. Tyler nodded. Of course, though I should mention that my janitor cover isn't just for show. I really do clean floors. He gestured to the half-mopped reception hall. And this one still needs finishing before tomorrow's Concordat delegation arrives. Zordak stared at Tyler in disbelief, then did something that shocked his entire court. He laughed. Not the mocking laughter from before, but a genuine sound of amusement. You humans are unlike any species I have encountered, the Emperor admitted. Facing a being who could obliterate worlds, and you worry about clean floors. It's all part of the job, Tyler said with a shrug. Besides, the dragons appreciate attention to detail. Cleanliness is actually quite important to them. As if to confirm his words, Serafina exhaled another shimmering mist through the ceiling. This time, the mist spread across the entire floor of the reception hall, leaving a pristine, gleaming surface in its wake. She's helping with the cleaning, Tyler explained, noting the astonished expressions of the Teslarians. The most powerful predator in galactic history is helping a human mop floors, Zordak said slowly, as if trying to process the concept. Wouldn't be the first time. Why do you think I requested assignment to the diplomatic sector? The crystalline compound in these floors has properties similar to dragon scales. Seraphina finds it soothing to help maintain them. The Emperor shook his head in amazement. Your species continues to surprise me, Tyler Grant. That's kind of our specialty, Tyler replied with a smile. Now, about that alliance. Zordak raised a hand. As I said, I require time. But I am intrigued by the possibility. He turned to Velex. Arrange secure quarters for my court, and ensure the human has unrestricted access to communicate with his superiors on Earth. Yes, Emperor, Velex bowed deeply. As the Teslarians prepared to withdraw, Tyler picked up his still-glowing mop and addressed the Emperor once more. One request, Your Majesty. Could we keep the dragon's connection to humanity between us for now? There are elements in the Concordat who might react poorly to the news. Zordak studied Tyler with new respect. Political instability would benefit none of us. Very well. The knowledge will remain restricted to those present until formal negotiations conclude. With that, the Emperor and his court departed, leaving Tyler alone in the reception hall with the 4 massive dragons still visible beyond the transparent ceiling. Tyler leaned on his mop and looked up at Seraphina. That went better than expected, he said in English. The dragon's thrumming response seemed almost like a chuckle. Yeah, I know. Playing politics wasn't in my job description. He sighed. Command's going to have my head for revealing our connection, but what choice did I have? Seraphina's eyes blinked slowly, and she sent another series of harmonious vibrations through the station. No, you're right. It was time. We couldn't keep the secret forever, and at least this way we control the narrative. Tyler resumed mopping, even though the floor was already spotless. Besides, it'll be nice not having to hide you guys anymore when you visit. The lead dragon pulled back slightly from the ceiling, her massive wings unfurling in what Tyler recognized as a gesture of satisfaction. The other 3 dragons moved into formation around her, heading back to the lunar outpost. Tyler asked. Seraphina's affirmative rumble was gentle but clear. Tell Cassandra her egg is doing fine. The hatchling should emerge within the month. Tyler paused. And thank you for coming when you sense my distress. I appreciate the dramatic entrance, even if it nearly gave me a heart attack. The dragon's eyes crinkled in what could only be described as draconic amusement. With a final thrumming farewell, Seraphina and her companions turned away from the station, their massive forms accelerating into the nebula with surprising grace for creatures of their size. Tyler watched until they were no longer visible, then returned to his mopping with renewed purpose. Tomorrow would bring formal negotiations, bureaucratic headaches, and probably a stern reprimand from Earth Command. But tonight, he was still a janitor with floors to clean. 6 months later, Tyler stood in the same diplomatic reception hall, though under very different circumstances. Gone was the janitor's uniform, replaced by the formal attire of an Earth Diplomatic Corps officer. His mop, however, remained by his side, now officially recognized as a ceremonial staff, denoting his status as Dragon Liaison. The hall was filled with representatives from 12 major galactic powers, all gathered to witness the historic signing of the Earth-Teslarian Accord. At the center of the gathering stood Emperor Zordak and the newly appointed Earth Ambassador, Emily Parker. This marks a new chapter in galactic relations, Ambassador Parker announced to the assembled dignitaries. For too long, humanity has kept to itself, hesitant to fully engage with the wider community of worlds. Today, we step forward as equal partners in shaping our shared future. Zordak, resplendent in imperial regalia, nodded in agreement. The Teslarian Empire has always valued strength and wisdom. In humanity, we have found both, though sometimes in unexpected packages. His multifaceted eyes found Tyler in the crowd, and his mandibles clicked in what Tyler now recognized as genuine amusement. The signing ceremony proceeded with all the pomp and circumstance befitting such a momentous occasion. What most of the attendees didn't know was that the most important witnesses weren't in the room at all, but watching from just beyond the transparent ceiling. 3 Viridian Fire Lords, including Seraphina, hovered silently above the station, their presence known only to Tyler, Zordak, and a select few others. Their attendance was unofficial but significant, the first time in recorded history that dragons had willingly observed a diplomatic function. As the final signatures were applied and the accord formally enacted, Tyler felt a familiar vibration run through the station. Dragon speech, but pitched so subtly that only he could detect it. "Yes," he whispered, looking up at the ceiling. "This changes everything." The reception that followed was predictably elaborate. Tyler found himself approached by countless dignitaries, all curious about the human who had facilitated the unprecedented alliance. "I still don't understand," a Proximer diplomat said, her tentacles gesturing animatedly. "How did a sanitation technician become the architect of the most significant diplomatic agreement in recent history?" Before Tyler could answer, Emperor Zordak appeared at his side. "Sometimes, the most important work happens in the places we least expect," the Emperor said. "Tyler Grant taught me that the person holding the mop might just be the most valuable individual in the room." "You flatter me, Emperor," Tyler replied with a slight bow. "Not at all. In fact, I have been considering implementing a similar program within my own empire. Observers in unexpected positions." Zordak's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with amusement, though perhaps not with actual cleaning responsibilities. "The cleaning was never just a cover," Tyler insisted. "I take pride in a job well done, whether it's mopping floors or negotiating treaties." The Emperor's patterns shifted to indicate respect, and that, I believe, is why the dragons chose your species as their confidants. You understand the dignity in all forms of service. As the reception continued around them, Tyler excused himself and stepped closer to the transparent ceiling. Above, Seraphina had moved away from the other dragons and was watching him intently. "We did it," he said softly, knowing she could sense his words even if she couldn't hear them through the barrier. "The beginning of a new era." The dragon's response came not as speech but as a gentle mist that once again passed through the ceiling material, settling on Tyler's ceremonial mop staff and causing it to glow with renewed brilliance. Several nearby dignitaries gasped at the display, many backing away in alarm. "What was that?" Ambassador Parker asked, hurrying to Tyler's side. Tyler held up his glowing staff for all to see. "A blessing," he announced, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent hall. "And an introduction that's long overdue." He turned to address the gathered representatives directly. "Honored delegates, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Or rather, three someones. They've been watching our proceedings with great interest." With a gesture toward the ceiling, Tyler invited everyone to look up. The collective intake of breath was audible as the assembly beheld the three massive dragons hovering above the station. "May I present Seraphina, Ageron, and Tiberius," Tyler continued calmly. "Viridian firelords and allies of Earth. They've been quite patient with our political processes and feel it's time to participate more directly in galactic affairs." Chaos erupted in the reception hall. Delegates clamored with questions, expressions of fear, or demands for explanation. Through it all, Tyler stood serenely beside Emperor Zordak, who seemed to be enjoying the commotion. "You planned this," Zordak observed quietly. "The dragons did," Tyler corrected. "They've been waiting for the right moment to reintroduce themselves to the galaxy, not as the destroyers from the burning times, but as the guardians and scholars they've become." The Emperor nodded thoughtfully. "And humanity as their interpreters. Partners," Tyler emphasized once again. "We've learned much from each other." As the initial shock subsided, Ambassador Parker took control of the situation with diplomatic skill. "Esteemed delegates, today was already historic with the signing of the Earth-Teslarian Accord. Now, it becomes legendary with this revelation. Earth has been honored to host these magnificent beings for centuries, and we are pleased to facilitate their reintegration into galactic society." Seraphina, sensing the pivotal moment, pressed closer to the ceiling and extended one massive talon to touch the transparent material. Where contact was made, the surface rippled like water, though it maintained its structural integrity. Tyler recognized the invitation. With a nod to Ambassador Parker and Emperor Zordak, He stepped forward and placed his hand against the ceiling directly beneath Seraphina's talon. Though separated by the barrier, the connection was palpable. A soft glow spread from the point of contact, expanding outward in concentric circles that eventually encompassed the entire ceiling. Within this illuminated field, dragon speech became audible to everyone present, not as unintelligible vibrations, but as clear, melodious words. "Greetings, children of many worlds." Seraphina's voice resonated through the hall. "It has been too long since we spoke directly with your kind." The delegates stood transfixed, many with tears streaming down their faces at the beauty of the dragon's speech. "The human Tyler Grant has served as our voice, but now we wish to speak for ourselves," Seraphina continued. "We offer friendship to all who seek peace and wisdom. The time of burning is long past. The time of building begins anew." Emperor Zordak stepped forward and, in a gesture that would be recorded in historical archives across the galaxy, bowed deeply to the dragon. "On behalf of the Teslarian Empire, I welcome your return, ancient ones." One by one, the other delegates followed the Emperor's lead, offering their own words of welcome and respect. Tyler watched with quiet satisfaction. The path forward would not be simple. Centuries of fear and legends weren't easily overcome, but the first step had been taken. Humanity's secret was now revealed, and their place in the galactic community forever transformed. Later, as the formal proceedings concluded and the delegates dispersed to report to their respective governments, Tyler found himself alone in a quiet corridor with Emperor Zordak. "When I first saw you with your mop, I thought you the most insignificant being in my empire," Zordak admitted. "I laughed at your primitive tool and your menial task. Many have made that mistake," Tyler replied without rancor. "And now, because of you, the balance of power in the galaxy has shifted irrevocably." The Emperor's patterns pulsed with a complex emotion Tyler couldn't quite interpret. "I should perhaps thank you for showing mercy when you held such power." Tyler shook his head. "The dragons were never weapons to be wielded, Emperor. They're conscious beings with their own will and wisdom. Our partnership works because we respect that." "A lesson for us all," Zordak agreed. "Still, I find myself curious. How did humanity first establish communication with the Fire Lords? Our greatest scientists attempted for centuries before the dragons retreated into exile." Tyler smiled and held up his staff, the glow now faded but still visible in the crystalline residue that coated the mop strands. "Sometimes the simplest gestures mean the most. When the first dragons awakened on Earth, they were disoriented, confused after millennia of dormancy. One of our scientists, a woman named Cassandra Wells, approached a hatchling with nothing but a branch of dragon mint as an offering of peace." "A plant." Zordak sounded incredulous again. "A symbol," Tyler corrected. "Of care, of attention to their needs. The dragons had chosen Earth because our planet's magnetic field helped protect their dormant eggs during their long sleep cycle. When they awoke, they found a species that had unwittingly been telling stories about them for thousands of years, keeping their memory alive even when they were absent." "And the mop?" Tyler laughed. "That was my own innovation. Dragon mint-infused cleaning solution helps maintain the special flooring they prefer while signaling our continued respect for their preferences. Form and function together. It just made sense." Zordak's mandibles clicked softly. "The mighty dragons, called by a janitor with a mop. It defies all logic." "That's humanity for you," Tyler replied with a shrug. "We specialize in the improbable." As they parted ways, Tyler made his way to the observation deck where he had arranged to meet Seraphina before she departed. The massive dragon hovered just outside the viewports, her scales shimmering with contentment. "Well, that's done," Tyler said, knowing she could sense his words. "For better or worse, the galaxy now knows about you and us." Seraphina's response came as a gentle thrumming that translated clearly in Tyler's mind. "It was inevitable, young one. The time of hiding is past. Now comes the time of renewal. Will it work?" This reintegration, the dragon's eyes, ancient and wise, regarded him with what could only be described as fondness. With guides like you to bridge our worlds? Yes, I believe it will. Tyler ran his hand along his mop staff, feeling the residual energy from Seraphina's blessing. I'm still going to clean floors, you know. At least sometimes. The dragon's rumbling response sounded remarkably like laughter. As well you should. Great wisdom is found in simple service, Tyler Grant. That is why we chose your kind. Not for your technology or your numbers, but for your capacity to find meaning in both the magnificent and the mundane. With a final farewell, Seraphina joined her companions and the three dragons accelerated away from the station, their forms diminishing until they were merely bright points against the cosmic backdrop. Tyler watched until they vanished from sight, then turned back toward the interior of the station. Tomorrow would bring new challenges as the galaxy adjusted to the dragon's return. But tonight, there were still floors that needed cleaning. He smiled as he reached for his mop. Some traditions were worth maintaining, no matter how much the universe changed around them. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.